I'm so happy to have you guys here. So thank you for coming. I hope that you're having an amazing day. And I'm really excited to tell you about Tiny Superheroes and kind of my story. And where my story kind of ends up is that what I've learned over years and many stories is like all about how to choose joy. So I'm going to start with a little story about, a few years back, now it won't let me, navigate this. Okay, we'll hope that this is okay. Does that look okay, Monica?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
It's a playground.
It's a
Yeah.
playground, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So a few years back, I brought my husband and my 3 kids to this park in St. Louis, and it was this awesome park. It was like mainly like a playground, but lots of grass. And it was like the time of year, like right now, where the fall leaves were just literally beautiful. Like they're so beautiful for like 1 week. And we happened to be at the park that day, which was awesome. And the best part was we were there to film a video for my company. So the beautiful leaves were only going to help. Now, my Pinterest idea of this video was long gone, well before the videographer arrived. My 5-year-old son was apparently starving, and our 2-year-old was already like having a complete meltdown on the ground. But we were still waiting for Liam to arrive, and he was going to be the star of the video. Liam is a good friend of mine. He was 6 years old at the time. I have a company called Tiny Superheroes. So Tiny Superheroes is a community of over 100,000 kids from all around the world who are overcoming an illness or disability, and we call them our Tiny Superhero Squad. And Liam has been on my Tiny Superhero Squad since he was 2 years old. Liam was born with spina bifida, which is a birth defect that caused Liam's legs to be paralyzed. It's a birth defect in your spine. So Liam's legs were paralyzed and he zooms around in the neon green wheelchair. He's impossible to miss. So I'm standing by the playground and my kids are climbing around like monkeys and we're still waiting for Liam. And then I see Liam down the sidewalk and he's like rolling towards me. And I'm so excited because I love Liam so much. So he rolls next to me and I bend down and I give him a ginormous hug. But then as I'm standing up, it just like hit me, like when your stomach just like drops to your feet. I was building an entire business around empowering kids with disabilities. And I had invited Liam to come help me make a video to promote our mission. And I brought him to a playground that was completely inaccessible. Like there wasn't one part of this huge playground that you could play on without climbing stairs, and Liam can't walk. I wanted to disappear. Here I'm trying to be a leader in this space, trying to pave the way for kids with disabilities, and I brought Liam to a playground he couldn't play on, or so I thought. I was mortified. I turned back towards Liam, but all that was there was his empty wheelchair. See, while I was here stuck in my head, panicking, feeling like an idiot, like wanting to literally disappear, Liam scooted out of his wheelchair, crawled over to the playground, used his arms to climb the stairs, and by the time I saw him, was already coming down the slide with my boys. Accessibility is so important and very much lacking. But that day, the only thing holding Liam back was me. There's a lot of ways that situation could have played out. But for Liam chose to play. Liam chose to be a superhero. Liam chose joy. And he taught me something important that I'm going to share with you. I believe that joy is something we can choose no matter the circumstances. And I'm going to give you 3 simple things that you can do that will allow you to find joy in the face of any situation. Now, before we dive in, I'm going to tell you what I mean by the word joy, because I've been someone who has battled anxiety and depression. So when I say joy, I'm not talking about like, just like put a smile on your face and like skip to work. Like I'm talking about that deep, content feeling where you have peace. Like that's the kind of joy that I'm looking for. And that kind of joy isn't something you can just easily find. It's pretty hard to like put your finger on it. Like, how do you go get it? My husband would joke, he'd be like, all right, Robin, I'll just go pick some up at the Joy store. Now, there isn't a Joy store, right? But there are things that we can do that we can put our finger on that are super simple. And when we do them, joy will follow. So, the very first thing that we can do to bring more joy into our life is to start the day with gratitude. Now, I go to a lot of workshops and I love to hear people tell me how I can make my life better. And lots of people tell me that if I wake up at 5 a.m. and drink a kale smoothie and run 3 hours or 3 miles, either one, that I'm going to be happier. And I'm sure that they're totally right. Like, I don't think they're lying to me. But for me and this gang of boys that I'm raising, if we get to school on time, we are doing pretty good. So we're not running and drinking kale smoothies in the morning. In fact, I'm trying to not drink my first Dr. Pepper before 10 a.m. Like that's a good day for me. So when I say that you're going to start your day with gratitude, I'm going to make it super, super simple, something that every one of us can do. At some point in your morning, write down 3 things you are grateful for. Just 3 things. You could do it at 5 a.m., at 8 a.m., at 10 a.m. You could do it with your kale smoothie or with your Dr. Pepper. It really doesn't matter. Just find a time that you can do it every day. Now, people tell me, people love to talk about gratitude. And they're like, this is so amazing. I love how gratitude is in my life. My challenge to you and to them is to actually write it down. There's so much science that proves that there is literal benefits to our brains when we physically write something down. You can better recall it, your brain encodes it better. And in the crazy chaos that's going on in all of our heads, when you write it down, it removes it from that chaos. And the more you do it, the easier it will be to do. So you can use a journal or a notepad or like the back of a receipt. It doesn't even matter. Like I think there's benefit in writing it in the same place every day because you're going to be amazed at your progress. But that's not what is important. What's important is that you do it. So the first day that you do this is going to be super simple. It'll be like, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for the sunshine and I'm grateful for tacos. All right. And you're going to be like, awesome. And you did it. And you should feel really good about that. And then the next day is going to be pretty easy too. Like, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for our friends. Oh, I'm grateful for our home. Now, by the third day, you're either going to quit on me because you're sick of writing that you're grateful for your family, or you're going to naturally start digging just a little bit deeper. For some people, this is hard, and that is okay. This being hard does not mean you are not a grateful person. Just like everything else, this takes practice. And you will be surprised at how quickly you begin noticing things that you never paid attention to before. So, day 5, you'll start digging a little deeper. It might look like, I'm grateful my son enjoyed his birthday. I'm grateful that I got to ride the scooter yesterday. I'm grateful we had dinner as a family. And by day 10, you'll be amazed at the details that you're noticing, like this dandelion. Like, I'm grateful for the dandelion and how beautiful it is when you blow on it. I'm grateful that when it started raining, I had my umbrella. I'm grateful for my son's soccer coach because he was really encouraging last night. This exercise of writing down 3 things you're grateful for should literally take you 1 minute. Okay, 1 minute. But if you actually do it, you will start seeing the world around you through a lens of gratitude. It is possible to train ourselves to be more grateful. And when you start expressing gratitude toward the very small details of your life that you never even noticed before, everything starts to change. Most of the time when we talk about gratitude, we talk about being grateful when things are going right. It is so easy to be grateful for the things that we wanted, right? Like it's so easy to be grateful that like during this outdoor picnic, it didn't rain, right? But I believe that gratitude is also about being grateful for what is not right or for what does not feel good. And that takes courage. And that's what we're going to explore next. So the first thing that you can do to choose joy in your life is to start your day with gratitude. The second thing is to remember that courage is always a choice. For most of my life, when I've thought about courage, like I immediately like envision people jumping out of an airplane or like some huge mountain that someone's trying to climb, right? And that is super courageous. But I see courage in our tiny superheroes all the time. Like I see courage in Jonathan every week when he goes in for his blood draw to make sure that the bacteria that has destroyed so many parts of his body is gone. He has courage every single week. It was easy to see courage in Mary Kate. She's 10 years old and she had to have a complete facial reconstruction surgery. Like the courage you would need to walk into that surgery is incomprehensible. But when I started thinking about like what in my life do I actually need to use courage for? Like what everyday thing is hard for me that I need to muster courage? It was a really hard struggle. Like I really didn't know the answer. I knew that there was an answer. I just didn't know what it was. I was instantly transported back to my childhood. Okay. So I have my grandma Jean. She was amazing. She was like my rock. She died several years ago, but she was like my second mom. You know, we stayed with her in the summer and she picked us up from school. And if we were sick, we were at her house. And she was not shy about her faith. And throughout her life, she always talked about this little book. I mean, it was like little and it was yellow and it was ugly. And I think it was probably written like 100 years ago. And it was called Power in Praise. Now, the book had a very simple message. The message was give thanks in all circumstances because all things work together for good. So this was like a Christian book and it was focused on this message of give thanks in all circumstances. And my grandma believed this. She talked about it. She lived it. She would out loud say things that she was grateful for that were terrible, you know, that like, how could you show gratitude for that? Because this is like painful or someone is suffering, but she did it anyway. She repeated it all of the time. So when I was thinking about what requires courage from me, this was it. It requires courage for me to show gratitude when things are not going right. Now, this is just something that I've been practicing because of my grandma, but it is a weird practice. Like, am I really grateful that I got into a car accident? You know, am I really grateful that my son's class is quarantined? Am I really grateful my son has to have surgery? Like, no, I don't feel grateful. I don't feel grateful for those things. But gratitude is more than a feeling. Gratitude is a choice. And we can courageously choose gratitude in the face of really hard things. And that produces joy. After years of watching parents like courageously dive into their kids' journeys of all different kinds, it wasn't until my third son was born, his name is Sheldon, that I actually had to put this into practice. And it's always easier to talk about until you have to put it into practice. And when I had to put it into practice, what I realized is that what happens when you courageously choose gratitude in the face of hard things, the result of that is hope. So the three things that we are in control of that produce joy are gratitude, courage, and hope. And they work perfectly together. And they're all choices that we can make. So I have three boys, Rory, Milo, and Sheldon. You saw them earlier. And when Sheldon was born, he was totally unexpectedly diagnosed with a rare birth defect in his foot. Both of his feet, actually. It's called vertical talus. So we had no idea that anything was wrong. And the other two kids had come out healthy. And when he came out and his feet looked funky, we really didn't know what was going on. So we were like really caught off guard with this diagnosis. And like the talus bone like runs horizontal in your feet, and vertical talus, it runs up and down in your feet, which is very problematic. Now, I'm going to be honest. If Sheldon was my first child, it would have also been before I started Tiny Superheroes. So I wouldn't have been engaged in this amazing community of families who endure so much. I think I would have been devastated. When the doctor told me your son has a birth defect, it would have been devastating because they're like literally telling me something is defective with my baby. But because of Tiny Superheroes, because I saw moms like you and parents like you go through really hard things and come out on the other side of that really, really hard thing, I knew I had to practice what I was preaching because these tiny superheroes were watching me. Now, every day is not our best day, but on my best days in these early days of Sheldon's life, I would gather my courage and I would say, thank you for Sheldon's special feet. Now, right now, it's like, Robin, are you trying to tell me you were actually grateful that Sheldon had a birth defect in his feet? And again, I did not feel grateful. I felt terrified. Sheldon was going to need 2 big surgeries. I felt grief. Holding a newborn is my favorite thing in the entire world. And now my son had plaster casts on his legs that weighed more than he did. I felt scared. There was treatment, but there was also a lot of unknowns. But both gratitude and courage are more than feelings, they are choices. And in the face of Sheldon's diagnosis, I could choose anger and fear, or I could choose to express courage and gratitude. It didn't mean I had to feel grateful. I just had to be courageous enough to choose to express it. I don't do anything perfectly, and I definitely didn't do this perfectly. And most days I was completely overwhelmed, stretched way too thin, felt like a terrible mom. But when I would remember, I would practice this and I would say, thank you for Sheldon's special feet. No one wants bad things to happen. Nobody wishes that upon ourselves or anyone else. And when it comes to our children, we definitely don't, right? But the truth is, because of Sheldon's special feet, I learned more about the Tiny Superheroes community than I could have ever imagined. Because of Sheldon's special feet, we connected with families around the world with the same diagnosis. And because of Sheldon's feet, Sheldon is Sheldon. And Sheldon is unique in so many ways other than his feet. But when we have the courage to choose gratitude when things are hard, we will be more ready to identify and experience the joy that comes through them. And because I chose courage and because I chose gratitude, I still had hope, which I already told you, but we're going to talk more about hope now. Hope is an optimistic state of mind based on your expectation that the outcomes will be positive, okay? There are so many scientific reasons why hope is important. Like it reduces feelings of helplessness, it increases happiness, and it reduces stress. And all of those things are good. But when you're in the dark part, how do you actually hold on to hope? Like, what does that actually mean? You know? So we can choose to have hope by practicing the things we've already talked about. So gratitude and courage create hope. When we practice the gratitude for things when they are good and gratitude when they are bad, we are reminding ourselves that even when things are bad, good always follows. Sometimes after a storm in your life, it is super easy to see the good that came out of it. It is super easy to see the silver linings. And sometimes it can take decades to see the good that came out of that terrible situation. But I am here talking to you because of all of the good things that have happened to me and all of the bad things. I am a complete picture of both of them. And just as it's easy for me to be grateful for the good things that got me here, I have to be grateful for the bad things that got me here too. In the moment when the doctor told me that Sheldon had a birth defect, I could choose anger and fear, or I could choose courage and gratitude. There's this poem that I love. It's called Do the Next Thing. It's like my favorite poem. It probably was written around the same time as my grandma's favorite book. When we envision what we want to happen, or what we hope will happen, or even that we just pray could happen, when we envision those things, we become motivated to do the things required to actually make it happen. So if I chose fear and anger with Sheldon, I'm someone with a history of depression. You would find me in my bed, because for me, fear and anger bring hopelessness to me. But when I choose gratitude and courage, hope comes to me. So in this poem, Do the Next Thing, it has a very simple message. No matter what, no matter how dark or light something is, or how hopeful or how hopeless, or how heavy or how light, whenever you do not know what to do or how to move forward, the poem tells you, do the next thing. Okay? When you're practicing courageous gratitude, you don't have to feel grateful. You just have to express it. And when we hold on to hope, we do not need to know all of the answers to fix the problem. We simply have to do the next thing. I may not have known what the future held for Sheldon, but what I did know is that the thing I needed to do next was to schedule an appointment with an orthopedist. And that might have been all I knew. But I knew there was a next step. And just knowing that there's a next step gives us hope. Just like gratitude, just like courage, hope is a choice. And where joy is hard to find at the store and also hard to choose, when you choose gratitude, you will find joy. When you choose courage, you will find joy. When you choose hope, you will find joy. Picture a day when you sit down after work to watch TV because you finally understand that you needed a break. Picture a day when your partner says, I need to talk, and instead of your heart closing, it opens. Picture a day when you are no longer living in fear for what you might lose, but in gratitude for what you have. I have one final story to tell you that really brings everything together for me. And this is a story from a while ago. I've been doing Tiny Superheroes for 8 years, and this was a pivotal moment in my life and in my business, and in how I wanted to lead this community. Early on, I received an email from a father of a child who received his cape. And he wrote me just to let me know that his son loved that cape so much. And in the same email, he wanted to let me know that his son passed away, but that his son loved that cape so much that they decided to bury him in it. Now, losing a child is absolutely the worst thing I can ever imagine. But somehow, in that moment, the worst moment I could imagine, this man chose gratitude. This man chose courage. This man chose hope. And you can too. You can choose joy even when you experience loss. You can choose joy even when you are afraid. You can choose joy even when you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You can always choose joy. I have this QR code, and if you hold your phone up to it, it will lead you to text me. And I would love to connect with you and learn about your story and to share more about what Tiny Superheroes does. But I hope that from today, you can take one step lighter than you could before and know that you are not alone and that there is always the next thing that we can do. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm happy to answer any questions or chat with you guys if we have time. Does anybody, let's see, here I am. Am I back? Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to share? Monica's family, it's so good to see you, and I wish I was snuggled up in that soft, cozy bed. It looks so cozy. And Amanda, thank you for being here. Your face made me smile the whole time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robin. And we have this recorded, so we'll be able to upload it and play it on YouTube and all our social media from now until
Perfect.
next year when we see you.
Awesome. You guys, thank you so much for sharing your day with me.
Yeah, thank you so much again.
Bye, guys.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.